So the first thing I wanted to ask you are, what are your pronouns? So I take the she series.
Excuse me?
I wanted to ask you what your pronouns were. So I take the she series. What are yours?
Okay. So she, hers, and hers.
Perfect. Cool. So my name is Chioma, as you know already. So do I pronounce your name Leimary?
Leimary.
Leimary?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Leimary, let's get started. So the first question I have for you today is, why did you get involved in menstrual equity work? And what does this work mean to you?
So I began because I got an internship with the YWCA in New Bedford, and one of the duties that she had me to do was start the menstrual access. So I began doing the surveys and asking people what's going on with menstrual access. Can you hear me? Because it's like freezing.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I could, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I began collecting surveys and giving products to the community to see how the need was. I also went to Boston to legislate to support and advocate for the IM bill, and that's how I started.
So I didn't catch it. You said when you worked somewhere and like your kind of part of your job was to stock menstrual products, or I didn't hear that first.
Okay, so in the beginning, sorry, it was freezing. So I began doing the internship as my requirement. One of it was to so we did like donation drives and we started to collect menstrual products. As we began to collect the menstrual products, what I did is I began to go to schools, and I went to schools, parks, and food pantries, and I began to give people the menstrual products as they filled out the surveys for me.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how I started to do it.
Yeah.
And then I went to Boston and I legislated for it, and I also gave my own testimony about how the menstrual access, affected me in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. So on a typical day, like what does your work look like?
So just like yesterday, I got an email. So to back up, when the COVID began, what we came up with is I do the census. So we had like a phone that I use for work. So what I did is I began to use that phone for people to be able to call me if they need menstrual products, and I would deliver, or they could pick up. So I began to get calls from people because we have flyers that we made, and people could call us. We put the flyers in, we started to deliver food. So we put that in the bags, and just like we started to like give flyers. People knew at doctor's office and like other organizations, and they would call me, and I would set up a date and time to either meet with them, or they can go and I could give them hygiene products. And then they every other week I would do updates with them to see if they needed more, if they were running out, if they needed something different, if they wanted tampons, pads. We also have the cups. We also started doing the shelter. So every month I pick like a shelter to go to, and I give them like 30 bags for them to be able to distribute.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. So it seems to me like you have both like the kind of in-person work, you do a lot of that, but then you also do a lot of like delegation to other people. So this is, wow, you're very connected.
And I also pack the bags. So what we do is we have brown bags that we ordered. So the brown bags, you can't see anything. So we put it in the bag so it's discreet. The person can give it to them, and nobody has to know what's in the bags.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So next question I have for you is, why do you want the IM bill to pass?
The reason I want the iron bill because I feel like it's a necessity. It's part of a woman's life. It's something that we have to deal with every single month. And seeing the surveys, you can see how people were choosing. They have to choose whether they pay their rent, whether they can eat, whether they have money for for gas in their car. You know what I mean? So you can see that it's something that we have to choose. We shouldn't have to choose which one we can have. I think we live in a world that we're able to have all that, and it's part of life. It's part of something that we need. Plus, it's not it's not affordable. So people struggle. It's not, we can't get just the cheapest one because people get UTIs, you know what I mean? So this is like something that is something that we need, and we need the right product.
Right. Right. I agree. So how can like people help? Like people who aren't necessarily connected with Mass Now or connected with any organizations, how do you think they can help?
I think a lot of people, to help, I think they need to donate. So
Mm.
they can either donate. We talked about like gift cards, because like Amazon, if you donate like Amazon gift cards, we can just order them, and then they can come out, and then we're able to help them. They can also donate cash. So it depends if they could do gift cards. I know people who like throw parties, like people will throw a party and say, well, if you come to our party, can you just bring a bag of tampons or pads,
Mm.
to the party, and that, it adds up, and then we get more. We also did something. Somebody worked at a hair salon. So
Mhm.
whenever somebody came, they would ask, like, the next time you come, can you bring us? So it's like ways of being creative for us. Just even one pack each person, we can help one family.
Yeah. Wow. Definitely. Hmm. So, have you ever experienced like racism or like microaggression in this space? And do you feel comfortable about sharing your experience with that?
I read what you said. Now, can you explain to me what that means? Because like I wrote something, but I'm not sure that like I understand the question.
I guess like with this
Like,
question,
have I got like any negative? Like, like, is that what you mean?
I mean, I guess you can take the route because it's kind of like a in general question. So I guess like during your activism, has there ever been like any sort of microaggression in what you do because of who you are? Or yeah, kind of like that maybe. Or just in general how it's affected you. I guess it's kind of like however you think.
So I'll give you like an example of something that I went through, and then you can, like, I don't know if you can add this, like if it would be okay, but I'll just explain to you. So when I started to do this, I always thought about places to go. So I just graduated from BCC, so I thought, why can't I do it at BCC? Because I feel like a lot of us need it there. A lot of people are getting financial aid. We cannot afford to, to pay for our school. So how are we gonna pay for our pads? So I spoke to somebody in the library that worked there, and then she knew about like that I am the bill being passed. So she already knew about like the things that we were doing. So I had spoken to her if she can leave like a box there. I can bring some pads there, and she can leave it there, and then like people can just pick up, like, how they get free books, they can just pick up free pads.
Right.
We thought that was an idea for us to reach them, and they can also do the surveys. Well, that wasn't the case. When I went to go bring it, somebody stopped me and told me that I wasn't allowed to do this. So then I had to write a letter of an apology stating that, I didn't want to do something that I wasn't required to do. I just wanted to help, and I didn't know the way of doing it, and the way I did it was not the right way. So I had to speak to somebody else, higher. So I ended up speaking to the person at that does a food bank. So he allowed me to do it while we were at the food bank. But I understood that the issue of why I couldn't do it there is because, in each floor they have bathrooms, and they have like the ones that you pay for. You
Hmm.
have to pay, you have to put coins in there, and then you get your tampons or pads. So
Yeah.
I felt like they wasn't allowing me to give free ones because they wanted the students to have to get the ones that are paid for. You know what I mean? So I felt like when that happened, like I understood what they were saying, but I also was upset. That's why I'm like, okay, I have to find another way to get to this school, because I felt like it was like stopping us from the whole purpose. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm happy that it did. Like, it worked out. I ended up talking to the person. I got a different way of doing it. But to me, I felt like it was an issue. Like.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Hmm. Yeah. So that kind of like answers like the question. Like it was really whatever I guess barriers you've experienced
Yeah.
during your journey as a menstrual activist, because I do understand that like sometimes it's not even that like, oh, they don't have the resources, it's that like the institution itself is like unwilling to just like, I don't know, provide it for free or just like, I don't know, help, in a way that doesn't monetarily benefit them. So I definitely see like how frustrating that can be. Yeah.
And the food drive did actually help. So I was going there every single month and I was getting a lot of people and that really helped. But that was always like in back of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So next I have what can allies and non-BIPOC do to uplift marginalized voices in the menstrual equity space? So like what can, I guess, um people who aren't like directly, active, who aren't like activists, or who aren't, I guess, like um people of color, or like what can they do to help people who are marginalized in this menstrual space?
I learned that everybody has a voice, and especially where menstrual access, this is something that affects our nationality. It doesn't matter where we come from, who we are, our color of our skin. It doesn't matter if we have money or not. You know what I mean? We all go through it. Whether, like, I learned that during this journey that, like, even like single fathers, we don't think about that because we always think about the woman. I had a lot of even fathers that I went up to at parks and was like, listen, we're doing this survey. I see you have daughters. What's your concern? A lot of the parents told me they were single fathers, that they didn't one know how to deal with menstrual access because they were men and didn't have like a female to talk about it. And two, they were, the head of household, but they didn't remember every month that they had to buy menstrual access because they were guys. So they were going through like their own things. So like they said that it would be like, because doing passing the bill, the kids would have it in school and sometimes they could bring it home and it would be an easier access for the men to remember, my daughter needs this, rather than her calling him like he needs, she needs it today. And what I also noticed is grandparents. So a lot of the surveys I did was, I would go up to the grandparents because they take care of the kids because the parents are working. And a lot of them were, I spoke to a lot of them that had a lot of people living in one house. And the grandmother said, she would rather see her daughter and her grandkids get menstrual access stuff before she did because she wanted them to have what they had. So it's like a cycle that impacts the whole family. You know what I mean? And we don't like think about that because we only think about like, I'm a mom, so I think about me and my daughter, but like my mom thinks about everyone. So you forget about the person that's, like the head because they don't think about themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So with that, like what do you think personally, besides, like, I mean, you kind of just answered it, but is there anything else you think is like a really overlooked part of like menstrual equity work?
I think it's I think what they don't realize is that it's needed every single day. So we're asking for something to be passed that is needed all day long, every day. It's not something that we're asking because we don't want to pay for it. We're asking because it's needed. It's something that it's essential. Like it's something that we need to have. Just like, people say it, but, we make sure that we have toilet paper and we make sure that we have all that. And people don't think, like the homeless shelters, you always send them with like, things for like their hair. You never think of hygiene products. And they're, with the flyer I have here, it says that they're the menstrual are the least donated at homeless shelters, and that's kind of weird because they should have that. You know what I mean? They're homeless and they don't have obviously a house, and they're worried about what they're gonna do. Even in the jails. So in the jails, um, you have to pay for menstrual act. You have to pay for it. So if somebody's getting money and you're not, you won't get it that much. And the person that does get money, sometimes she gets more than she has to, so she can have enough. So it's not fair. It's not like accounted so everybody gets the equal amount. It's whoever has it. And we don't think about that. And it's something that it's something for your health. I think that's also important to say because we don't want to feel dirty, and we feel dirty when we have our periods. We don't feel as clean as we do, the rest of the month. So I feel like if you don't have the proper necessities, it doesn't help your body. So you can't be focused when you're at work. You can't be focused when you're in school because you're not focused because you feel like you're dirty. So you can't give your best. And I feel like that's stopping us from giving our best, you know, and people don't see that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So nearing the end here, one of the last questions I have for you is, what would be the ideal end goal for menstrual equity activism? It's like, what's your utopian reality?
To end period poverty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, are there any like misconceptions you'd like to address in terms of menstrual activism, activism in general, being a person of color and a menstrual activist? Any misconceptions you'd like to address?
Misconceptions. Let me see what I wrote on my notes. Basically, I think I already covered that. I think that we need to realize that it's not just when we think about menstrual access, it's not just about like a woman or a girl. It's about a family. So it affects a father, it affects a grandparent, it affects everybody in the house, because if we can't afford it, if nobody in the house can afford it, then it's everybody. It becomes everybody's issue. You know, and I feel like that's something that we don't that it's not thought about. You know, like why shouldn't it should be like something that's already thought about as we're growing up. Like, how are we going to be able to afford this as we're going up? As you know, as we age, we should already have this, that we're comfortable, that kids can go to school and know that they're going to have it, like they're going to have a meal, like, you know.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So that's basically all I have for you today. I guess we could like circle back, and I'm just looking here. I didn't ask you exactly like what company you work for or whether you're just a complete freelancer. So
Okay.
about that.
So I did get hired at my intern, so I work at the YWCA in New Bedford.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. It was a pleasure talking to you and hearing about your activism. Amazing, amazing work. Like, yeah, you brought up some really good points and things that like I personally like have never like thought to think about. This is gonna be an amazing blog post.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.